During the installation of a natural gas pipeline by the Israeli Natural Gas Lines Company, a miraculous discovery was unearthed. Initially protected from prying eyes, the details of which, along with photographic studies, have now been officially released to the world via Israel's Antiquities Authority. A complete, if not intact, Egyptian sarcophagus. And even though the tomb had been broken, which was initially believed to have been the results of tomb robbers, the remains of this ancient and obviously once very wealthy Canaanite soldier was found to still be resting within, along with all of their burial artifacts left for them to use in the afterlife, which were found amongst the broken fragments. The rare artifacts were uncovered during delicate excavations by the Israel Antiquities Authority near Tel Shaddud. Part of a burial site dating to the Late Bronze Age, 13th century BCE, was exposed in the excavation at the foot of Tel Shaddud, and according to the excavation directors, Dr. Edwin Vandenbreck, Dan Kersner, and Dr. Ron Bieri of Israel Antiquities Authority, they discovered a unique and extremely rare find: a cylindrical clay ancient Egyptian coffin with an anthropoid lid, surrounded by a variety of Egyptian pottery, consisting mainly of storage vessels for food, tableware, cultic vessels, and animal bones. The skeleton of an adult was found inside the clay coffin, and next to it was a bronze dagger, bronze bowl, and hammered pieces of bronze. The researchers said, quote, "We assumed the deceased was an official of Canaanite origin who was engaged in the service of the Egyptian government. Another possibility is that the coffin belonged to a wealthy individual who imitated Egyptian funerary customs." The researchers add that so far, only several anthropoid coffins have been uncovered in the country. The last ones discovered were found at Deir el-Balah some 50 years ago. According to the archaeologists, an ordinary person could not afford the purchase of such a coffin. It is obvious the deceased was a member of the local elite. The graves of 2 men and 2 women were also located near the coffin. The discovery of the coffin at Tel Shaddud is evidence of Egyptian control of the Jezreel Valley in the Late Bronze Age, 13th century BCE. During the period when the pharaoh Seti I governed the country, Egyptian culture greatly influenced the local Canaanite upper class. Signs of Egyptian influence are occasionally discovered in different regions, and this time they were revealed at Tel Shaddud and in the form of a very special tomb of someone who was once very wealthy. What makes this find particularly special, however, is the fact that it is an Egyptian anthropoid coffin, and it contains some incredibly rare artifacts found next to the skeleton, and quietly cataloged artifacts which tell an unbelievable story. A solid gold Egyptian scarab seal affixed to a ring, which was often used to seal documents and objects by Egyptian royalty. It contained the name and crown seal of Pharaoh Seti I, who ruled ancient Egypt within the 13th century BCE. Seti I was the father of Ramses II, identified by some scholars as the pharaoh mentioned in the biblical story of the Israelites' exodus from Egypt. In the first year of his reign, 1294 BCE, a revolt broke out against Seti I in the Bet Shean Valley. Seti conquered that region and established Egyptian rule in Canaan. The reference to the pharaoh Seti I, of which found, aided the archaeologists in dating the time of the burial to the 13th century BCE, making the burial around the time Seti would have indeed passed away. This is extremely compelling evidence to suggest that this could be the actual burial sarcophagus of Seti I. Although Israel's antiquities are clearly wary of making such a claim publicly, the name and the crown of Pharaoh Seti I, who ruled ancient Egypt in the 13th century BCE, appears on the seal of the sarcophagus also. For over 100 years, we have been led to believe that Seti I was found at Deir-el-Balah in 1881, a temple constructed over 200 years after his death, attributed as the holiest of holies. It had a burial chamber designed into its construction, which is said to have housed numerous important figures throughout the ages. Was Seti's mummy an impostor, used in place of the lost sarcophagus, that for all this time has laid within Israel, which at the time of his rule would have been the front line of his invasion armies into Syria and Libya? Officials now say that the tomb was that of a wealthy soldier. This would also, of course, make sense once one became familiar with Seti's war-ridden reign. Was this elaborately buried soldier once a pharaoh of ancient Egypt? We find the evidence to suggest such highly compelling.